वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीर्उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तां सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण। So we'll begin the 17th chapter, 4th canto. We'll recite the verse. Somebody can chant after me. Maitreya uvacha somebody can repeat.
Uvacha
एवं स भगवान् वैन्य
एवं स भगवान् वैन्य
ख्यापितो गुणकर्मभिः
ख्यापितो गुणकर्मभिः
छन्दयामास तान् कामैः
छन्दयामास तान् कामैः
पूज्याभिनन्द्य च
प्रतिपूज्याभिनन्द्य च। The great sage Maitreya continued, in this way the reciters who were glorifying Maharaj Pruthu readily described his qualities and chivalrous activities. At the end, Maharaj Pruthu offered them various presentations with all due respect and worshipped them adequately.
In this way, Khyapitaha means glorified. glorified by the reciters. Pruthu Maharaj satisfied them. Pratipujya Chandayamasa. Chandayamasa here refers to satisfied. Pruthu Maharaj satisfied them with the different gifts after worshipping them and glorifying them. Pratipujya Abhinandyacha. So we see that like previously the kings would be glorified by the different people like Suta, Magadha and Vandi. Suta, Magadha and Vandi, they have actually different roles. It is described in, I think, in one purport in the first canto. Suta, Magadha and Vandi, they have the roles of reciting the Puranas, glorifying the kings. So when they would glorify the king, it would be actually factual. They would not simply flatter the king. Currently, I just saw yesterday some video in WhatsApp that like many political parties leaders, they employ the people, employ the video channel, simply flatter them actually. It is most of the time it is almost 95% untruth. But here the Suta, Magadha and Vandi, they would factually glorify the king, and the kings would also properly satisfy them by giving proper gifts. So Prabhupada says in one purport that the Brahmanas in society were never attentive to banking money for future retired life. So when they would be old and invalid, they used to approach the assembly of the kings along with their wives, and simply by praising the glorious deeds performed by the kings, they would be provided all the necessities of life. So such Brahmanas, they should not be seen as simply flatterers of the kings, but the kings were actually glorified by their actions, and they were sincerely still more encouraged in pious acts by such Brahmanas in a dignified way. The Brahmanas, by glorifying them factually, they would try to encourage the kings, especially because people in the administration, anybody who is doing good management, they also need encouragement for the people. They need encouragement to continue their service actually. So the Brahmanas would glorify them factually. By that they would be encouraged, and the Brahmanas would be satisfied by, like the kings would satisfy them by giving the whatever their necessities would be provided. Another purport Prabhupada says that the difference between the presentation of welcome addresses today and in those days is that formerly welcome addresses were presented to personalities like Pruthu Maharaj, Yudhishthira Maharaj, and they would be filled with facts and figures. And the people who would glorify such personalities would be sufficiently rewarded. But presently, the welcome addresses are presented, they don't contain factual statements, but to simply please the post holder. They are filled with some flattering lies, and rarely those people are rewarded by the poor receiver. Those who present such welcome addresses are rewarded by the poor receiver. So here we see Pruthu Maharaj satisfied them by giving the gifts. So Brahmana Pramukhan Varnan, he respected the Brahmana Pramukhan, the leading Brahmanas, and Varnan, other castes. Bhritya, he satisfied the servants, ministers. So even satisfying sometimes ordinary servant is also important. In the Ramayana, there was one dissatisfied servant in the form of Mantra. She completely changed the whole situation. Mantra was dissatisfied when Ram was playing with his friends in his younger days. That time, some ball actually went and hit Mantra, and then others started laughing. It all happened unintentionally. But Mantra became dissatisfied, and she maintained that grudge. And then she only poisoned Kaikeyi, instigated Kaikeyi to ask for those two boons. Essentially, it is just one apparently insignificant servant who was dissatisfied who changed the situation completely. So therefore, in Vidura Niti, when Vidura speaks about the characteristics of the Pandita, one of the characteristics he mentions is that a Pandita does not disrespect even an insignificant person. He does not neglect even an ordinary person as insignificant. He would give whatever due respect which is required for that person. So here Pruthu Maharaj satisfied the servants, ministers, priests, and the city people, countrymen, tradesmen, the employees. So he respected everyone right from the Brahmana Pramukhan, the learned Brahmanas, to the insignificant people. So both the important citizens and the common citizens welcomed the king very heartily, and he also bestowed upon them the desired blessings. When Krishna was entering Dwaraka, there is also a similar verse which says that the Almighty Lord greeted everyone present by bowing his head, exchanging greetings, embracing, shaking hands, giving assurances, and awarding benedictions, even to the lowest in rank. Even to the lowest in rank. So Krishna also satisfied it from the topmost to the smallest people. So now the next few verses, Vidura is asking certain questions from verse number 3 to 7. Especially he asks 3 questions in 3, 4 and 5. And then verse number 6 and 7, Vidura expresses greater eagerness to hear about Pruthu Maharaj. So Maitreya Rishi sort of ended the narration of Pruthu Maharaj. But Vidura, he is wanting to hear more in detail some of the pastimes of Pruthu Maharaj. So therefore, he is asking this. Vidura Vuvacha. Somebody can recite. Kasmad dadara gorupam.
Kasmadadhar gorupam.
Dharitri bahurupini.
Dharitri bahurupini.
Yam dudoha prutustatra.
Yam dudoho pritustatra.
Kovatso dohanam chakim.
Kovatso dohanam chakim. Vidura inquired from the great sage Maitreya, "My dear Brahmana, since Mother Earth can appear in different shapes, why did she take the shape of a cow? And when King Prithu milked her, who became the calf, and what was the milking pot?"
So there is one question about the Maharaj Prithu milking the earth. Why Vidura is asking? Because in the previous chapter end, we discussed that the wives of the Devatas, they glorified Prithu Maharaj. Those 3-4 verses, 22 to 25, how the wives glorified Prithu Maharaj. So in that they had mentioned how Prithu Maharaj milked the earth, how Prithu Maharaj got spiritual knowledge from Sanat Kumara, how Prithu Maharaj performed 100 Ashwamedha Yajnas. They mentioned those glories. So based on that, those 3 verses, because Vidura is quite attentive, he wants to hear those incidents in great detail. So in 3 verses, he is asking those 3 questions. So the first question about Maharaj Pruthu milking the earth. And then second question about Pruthu Maharaj performing the Ashwamedha Yajnas. The surface of the earth is by nature low in some places and high in some places, high in others. So how did Pruthu level the surface of the earth, and why did Indra steal the horse meant for the sacrifice? 5th verse. Sanat Kumarat Bhagavato
Sanat Kumara Bhagavato
Brahman Brahma Viduttamat
Brahmam Brahma Viduttamam
Labdva Jnanam Savijnanam
Advagyanam Savigyanam
Rajarshi Kamgatim Gatah.
Rajarshi Kam Gatim Gatah. The great saintly king Maharaj Pruthu received knowledge from Sanat Kumar, who was the greatest Vedic scholar. After receiving knowledge to be applied practically in his life, how did the saintly king attain his desired destination?
So here, this question is about Pruthu Maharaj getting knowledge from Sanat Kumara. Just 1 second. Just looking for. So in this purport, Prabhupada tells about the importance of receiving knowledge from a guru. And there are 4 bona fide sampradayas. Anybody who is serious about receiving transcendental knowledge must accept a guru from one of these 4 sampradayas. So there is a famous statement, Sampradaya Vihinayena Mantraste Nishpala. Without receiving the mantra from a sampradaya, the mantra will not have effect. That's the meaning of the statement. So, especially this point, sampradaya, I think last week also I mentioned briefly, but I'll just mention in this regard about the importance of being connected to a sampradaya. So oftentimes, sampradaya is translated into English as sect. But sect is usually used to refer to the groups of people with a narrow frame of mind and who are not open to others' points of view. But when we try to understand the original word sampradaya in Sanskrit, sampradaya is a combination of sam means samyak, plus pra means prakarshena means thoroughly, samyak means complete, and daya means the act of bestowing. The sampradaya actually means the medium through which complete and thorough bestowing of the spiritual realization occurs. That is the meaning of the word sampradaya. So therefore, translating the word sampradaya as a sect, it proves not only is much lost in the translation, but the original meaning of sampradaya will be misunderstood also. So the actual meaning of sampradaya and the word sect, they are completely different actually. So therefore, in the previous times, during the Vedic culture, affiliating oneself to a sampradaya was not considered as something that one would be hesitant to do. So in the past ages, no one would be accepted as a spiritualist unless they had been admitted to a sampradaya. But in the current times, the modern trend is that modern trend encourages people to declare themselves as spiritual but not religious. That means you tell that you are practicing spirituality, but don't actually affiliate yourself to a particular sect or a sampradaya or some religious group. That is a modern trend. So, like in the Sridhar Swami, when he begins his Bhavartha Deepika commentary on Bhagavatam, he says, Sampradayanu Redena Paurva Pariyanu Sarataha Sri Bhagavata Bhavartha Deepikeyam Pratanyate. In accordance with my Sampradaya and adhering to a logical sequence, I commence this commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam named Bhavartha Deepika, the lamp of essential meanings. So one may wonder, why does Sridhar Swami restrict himself to his Sampradaya? Is it not a narrow frame of vision to describe things only as per one's limited group? So actually, in declaring his adherence to a Sampradaya, Sridhar Swami demonstrates great honesty. He could have easily, Sridhar Swami could have easily claimed that, oh, I am the knower of all the Sampradayas. He may have even read their books. But Sridhar Swami does not claim to be able to write a commentary according to any other Sampradaya besides his own. This is because one does not gain realized knowledge of all the Sampradayas simply by reading the books. So, like you have to actually study under a personality who belongs to a Sampradaya. So therefore, Sridhar Swami is not claiming expertise in another Sampradaya. This is actually a sign of intellectual and spiritual honesty. So the essential idea behind the Sampradaya is to protect a valuable flow of knowledge and realization. So realization in all the fields of spiritual and material knowledge is not possible for a single limited soul. Every person has limitation. Usually, if we see in our own lifetime, we can at the most study thoroughly some books. There are so many books of knowledge are there. We can at the most study some books of knowledge. Somebody just devotes himself to Vyakarana or Nyaya or some Puranas, Mahabharata or Srimad Bhagavatam. So realization in all the fields of spiritual and material knowledge is not possible. So everyone who claims for spiritual realization has to make a wise decision as to what he considers as the aim of life. So therefore, because there's another beautiful shloka in a Niti, which says that Ananta Shastram Bahulascha Vidya Alpascha Kalo Bahu Vignatacha Yat Sarabhutam Tat Upasaniyam Hamso Yata Kshiram Ivambu Mishram. There are unlimited Shastras and time is limited and obstacles are many. So therefore, only the essence is to be known and worshipped in the same way that a divine swan separates the essence from the inessential water. So the point is that knowledge has to be received from a parampara, from a sampradaya. That in the current times, people have the notion that we are spiritual but not religious. They don't want to identify themselves to a sampradaya. This is like, as I mentioned, that some people, they say, we live together, but then we are not married. We don't want to be bound by the system of marriage, but we stay together. So similarly, people the same mindset in the spiritual field. Oh, we are spiritual, but we are not affiliating to any sampradaya. So, but here Prabhupada comments on this. Unless one accepts a mantra from one of these sampradayas, the so-called mantra will not act in Kali Yuga. And of course, there are many sampradayas are without authority, and the rascals of the so-called sampradayas do not observe the Vedic rules and regulations. Although they are addicted to sinful activities, they still offer the people mantras and thus mislead them. So one has to be careful of the wrong sampradayas. Even after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's disappearance, there were some 9 or 12 apasampradayas which sprung up. Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about that in detail. So Pruthu Maharaj is an example that he showed by his example that how one should receive and accept a bona fide guru. So then Vidura is expressing his eagerness to hear more. Yachanyadapi Krishnasya. They can repeat.
Yachanyadapi Krishnasya
Bhavan Bhagavata Prabho
Bhavan Bhagavata Prabho
Shravat Sushravasa Punyam
Shrava Sushravasa Punyam
Purva Deha Katashrayam
Purva Deha Katashrayam
Bhaktaya Menu Raktaya
Taya Me Anuraktaya Tavacha Dokshajasya Cha.
Vainyarupena Gamimam.
Ainyarupena Gamimam. Pruthu Maharaj was a powerful incarnation of Lord Krishna's potencies. Consequently, any narration concerning his activities is surely very pleasing to hear, and it produces all good fortune. As far as I am concerned, I am always your devotee as well as a devotee of the Lord, who is known as Adokshaja. Please therefore narrate all the stories of King Pruthu, who in the form of the son of King Vena milked the cow-shaped earth.
So in this word, these two verses, Vidura is expressing his eagerness. Please speak to me. I am attached to hearing and devoted to you, Anuraktaya. And also I am devoted to the Supreme Lord. You should narrate about that person who milked the earth in the form of Pruthu, and also other pure famous topics related to the previous birth, the Supreme Lord Krishna. So this particular verse is also quoted by Jiva Goswami in Krishna Sandarbha. Here Vidura is saying that Yachanyat api Krishnasya Bhavan Bhagavata Prabhu. Please narrate about the Pruthu Maharaj, who was a powerful incarnation of Krishna's potency.
100 बार चर्चा की है. लास्ट का इसका छोड़ेंगे, ऊपर का कंप्लीट.
Please narrate about Pruthu Maharaj, who is a powerful incarnation of Krishna's potencies. So he is using the word Krishnasya. So in the Krishna Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami analyzes that there are different speakers and hearers in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Different conversations are taking place between Vidura Maitreya, Sukadeva Goswami, Parishit Maharaj, Sutta Goswami, the sages, Narada, Yudhishthira Maharaj. So he says that how all the different speakers and the hearers, they had a great eagerness to speak about Krishna and hear about Krishna. And then in order to prove that, Jiva Goswami quotes various verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Although the different hearers, they asked different questions, but they had a special attraction to Krishna. Similarly, the different speakers, they spoke about various topics in the Bhagavatam. They especially wanted to speak about Krishna. And he takes every hearer and every speaker in the Bhagavatam, and then he quotes appropriate verse to show that how they had special interest in Krishna. So here, and then for the sake of Vidura, how Vidura especially wanted to hear about Krishna, for that he quotes this verse. Because in this particular verse, he is expressing his eagerness to hear about Pruthu Maharaj. But the fact that he is addressing Pruthu Maharaj as Yachanyat api Krishnasya Bhavan Bhagavata Prabhu. So even in his question about wanting to hear about Pruthu Maharaj, within that question, you can observe Vidura's deeper eagerness to hear about Krishna, because he is telling Pruthu Maharaj as the incarnation of Krishna. That shows the hidden deeper eagerness of Vidura to hear about Krishna. So in that way, Jiva Goswami is going like the acharyas are able to perceive the feelings of the speaker and hearer behind those external verses. So here Prabhupada explains that the word Prabhupada is Maharaj Pruthu is the incarnation of the ruling potency of Krishna. Adokshaja means one is beyond the perception of the material senses. In one purport in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, I'll read the Adi Leela in relation to the word Adokshaja. Prabhupada says the height of rascaldom, it's quite a long. Prabhupada explains that the height of rascaldom is to actually wanting to know about the Supreme Lord with one's limited mind and senses. So thinking of the absolute truth to be poverty stricken or to have no potency is simply rascaldom. And this rascaldom is a profession of the conditioned soul, and it increases his bewilderment. So on purport, he says the height of rascaldom is that when a person tries to understand the supreme absolute truth who is beyond the mind and senses, but a person who tries to understand the absolute truth with one's limited mind and senses, that is the height of rascaldom. So now, in response to Vidura's question, Maitreya Rishi starts narrating. So when Maitreya Rishi heard these questions, Vidura was also inspired, and being very pleased with Vidura, began to praise him. So here we see that the nature of the spiritual subject matter is that neither the hearer nor the speaker, they don't get tired. So here Maitreya and Vidura, both of them are devotees, and Maitreya Muni became more encouraged to speak. So Maitreya Rishi starts narrating. Yada Abhishikta Pruthuranga Viprair
Pruthuranga Viprair
Amantrito Janatayarcha Palaha
Amantrito Janatayascha Palaha
प्रजानिरन्ने क्षितिपृष्ठयेत्य
निरन्ने क्षितिपृष्ठ एत्य
क्षुक्षामदेहापतिमभ्यवोचन्
उत्क्षामदेहः पतिम् अभ्यवोचन्. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, at the time King Pruthu was enthroned by the great sages and Brahmins and declared to be the protector of the citizens, there was a scarcity of food grains. The citizens actually became skinny due to starvation. Therefore, they came before the king and informed him of their real situation.
So at that time, the citizens were starving of the hunger. So they came and informed Pruthu Maharaj. So Varnashram Dharma is a very scientifically designed society. It's not a man-made institution, but it's a God-made institution. So last week, I think in one of the discussion we mentioned. So the modern institutions are actually man-made. So man-made institutions, they will have the drawbacks. We may use the institution for Krishna's service, but it is a man-made institution. Just like mobile phones are man-made. We may use it for Krishna's service, but they do have the, even though we may use it, but at times we get distracted. We get used by the mobile phone when we are not careful. So modern institution is a man-made institution, but Varnashram is made by Krishna. It's made by Krishna. So that is why Prabhupada, even though he made an institution to propagate Krishna consciousness, but Prabhupada told even before he started preaching in the West, if you read the letter which Prabhupada wrote to, I think, Rajendra Prasad, he tells about his plan to establish 4 kinds of movements. And in that one kind of movement is the Varnashram movement. And even before he established ISKCON, his idea of Varnashram was there. And then at the last part of his life, when he was about to leave his body, that time also he mentioned that 50% is actually 50% of my desire is unfulfilled, that is to establish Varnashram. So Varnashram is a God-made institution. So here, Brahmanas used to control the royal power. When an evil king, Vena ruled, Brahmanas would kill them through their Brahmanical powers. So here we have an indication of how the Brahmanas elected Pruthu to the throne as a protector of the citizens. Now when the citizens were starving of hunger, there is a duty of the king to provide the basic necessities for the citizens. The king is supposed to take care of the citizens and take care of the citizens' physical needs, emotional needs, social needs, and the spiritual needs. It's a big responsibility actually. So then the citizens are saying that just as a tree with a fire burning in the hollow of the trunk gradually dries up, we are drying up due to the fire of hunger in our stomachs, and you are the protector of the surrendered souls, and you have been appointed to give employment to us. Therefore, we have come to you for protection, and you can give us all kinds of occupational engagements, for you are the master of our livelihood. So please actually make arrangements to satisfy our hunger. Otherwise, we'll soon die. This way, the citizens are actually telling. And Pruthu Maharaj, when he hears this, he contemplates for a long time to find out about what is the underlying cause for the starvation of the citizens. After contemplating for a long time, then he arrives at a conclusion that earth is not producing the food grains. So therefore, he took up his bow and arrow and aimed them at the earth. Exactly like Lord Shiva, who destroys the world out of anger. So So this anger of Pruthu Maharaj is exhibited after contemplating for a long time. If the anger is arising from the mode of passion, one will exhibit one's anger without thinking. One would exhibit one's anger impulsively. But when the anger is arising from the mode of sattva guna, or when the anger is used as an instrument by a person, then the anger would arise after contemplation. So, like today, we were discussing on in the Yaksha Prashna. There was one question asked by Yaksha that what does a person gain? Vimrishita karyakara kim labate. What does a person gain when a perform activities after deliberation, after contemplation? So Yudhishthira Maharaj says that Vimrishita karyakaro adhikam jayati. When a person performs any activity after deliberation, then he will achieve success for most of the time in that activity. So here, Pruthu Maharaj is also about to attack the earth after contemplation, after deliberation for a long time. So Prabhupada says that Pruthu Maharaj could understand that it was not the people's fault, because the people were not lazy in executing their duties. Rather, earth was not producing the sufficient food grains. That indicates that the earth can produce sufficiently if everything is properly arranged. But sometimes the earth can refuse to produce the food grains for various reasons. So when the earth saw that King Pruthu was about to attack her, the earth became afraid and the earth started trembling, and she assumed the form of a cow, because she felt that usually cow is never attacked. If I take the form of a cow, maybe Pruthu Maharaj will not attack me. So in order to avoid the wrath of Pruthu Maharaj, she actually took the form of a cow. So if you see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, even the 10th canto beginning, when Mother Earth approached Brahma, she takes the form of a cow. She takes the form of a cow. The reason she took the form of a cow, because earth wanted to evoke the sympathy of Brahma and other devatas. Or she took the form of a cow because Krishna's abode is called as Goloka, but it is more commonly known as Gokul. So she felt that if I take the form of a cow, the Lord's affection can be evoked, because Lord is affectionate to the cow, and in his abode so many cows are there. And when he sees that I am also a cow and I am suffering because of the burden of the demoniac kings, the Lord would actually come to take care. And another reason why she took the form of a cow is that because in the cow's body all the devatas reside. So therefore she felt that by taking the form of a cow, it would know, I can declare that all the devatas reside in my body and they are also in trouble because of the overburden of the demoniac population in me. So she wanted to say that even the devatas are suffering because of the demoniac population. That way earth took the form of a cow in the 10th canto. Here also earth took the form of a cow in order to avoid the wrath of Pruthu Maharaj. But Pruthu Maharaj did not get carried away by the external form of earth assuming the form of a cow. Like Pruthu Maharaj continued to remain angry, and in his eyes he became as red as the early morning sun. His eyes were Like usually when a person is angry, we don't want to look at the eyes of that person. But here, Pruthu Maharaj's eyes were like the early morning sun. Early morning sun is something beautiful to look at. People go to Kanyakumari to see the sunrise and sunset. Both are very beautiful to look at. So Pruthu Maharaj, although he was angry, his eyes were very beautiful, like the rising early morning sun. So he placed an arrow on his bow and he chased the earth wherever she would run. And the earth started running here and there. And then, but Pruthu Maharaj was chasing her wherever she was going. And just like a man cannot escape the cruel hands of death, so the earth could not escape the hands of the son of Vena. And then finally, like she turned back in helplessness. When then the earth started pleading to Pruthu Maharaj. 18th verse. Somebody can repeat after me. Uvacha cha mahabhagam.
Vachata Mahabhagam
Dharmagnapanna vatsala.
Dharma Jnana Panna Vatsala
Trahi mamapi bhutanam.
Ahimamapi Bhutanam
Palane vastito bhavan.
Palane Avastito Bhavan. Addressing the great opulent King Pruthu as the knower of religious principles and shelter of the surrendered, she said, "Please save me. You are the protector of all living entities. Now you are situated as the king of this planet."
So earth is saying that, please save me because you are the knower of the religious principles and you are the protector of the living entities. So according to the principles of Dharma, a cow, a child, a woman and a Brahmana and old man should be given protection. So Mother Earth is a woman and moreover she took the form of a cow. Therefore she is saying that you know the religious principles, therefore how can you kill a woman? How can you kill a cow? And moreover, I am surrendered to you. And especially, it's not appropriate that you can kill a surrendered person. And not only that, you are the incarnation of the Lord. And you are the king of the earth. Therefore, please don't attack me like that. So she is expertly pleading. And she said that Sattvam jigamsase kasmat Deenam akrita kilbisham ahanishyat katam yosham dharmagnya itiyo matah. So why do you want to kill a wretched, sinless creature? Akrita kilbisham. And how could one who is actually a dharmagnya kill a woman? Katam yosham ahanishyat. And then she says that Praharanti navai strishu kritagas api jantavaha kimutat tvadvida rajan karuna dina vatsalaha. Praharanti navai strishu. People never beat even sinful women. Kritagashu api jantavaha. If a woman is even kritagasu, sinful, but praharanti, they never beat. Kimutat tvadvida rajan. What to speak of a person like you, who are merciful, karuna, and dina vatsala, affectionate to the wretched. How can you actually? How are you? How did you become ready to actually kill me? And then she says, I will recite this verse. Mam Mam Vipatya Jaram Navam. Somebody can chant.
Mam vipatya jaram navam.
Yatra Vishwam Pratishtitam
Yatra vishvam pratishtitam.
Atmanam cha Atmanam cha Prajaschema
Atmanamsha prajaschema.
Kathamambasi Dasyasi.
Kathamam amibhasya dasyasi. The cow-shaped earth continued. My dear king, I am just like a strong boat, and all the paraphernalia of the world is standing upon me. If you break me to pieces, how can you protect yourself and your subjects from drowning?
So she says that if you break me, I'm actually a strong boat. She's comparing herself to a boat because all the living entities are actually are there in the earth. I'm giving shelter to all the living entities like a boat. And if you break me, how will you keep the citizens and yourself afloat in the water? Katham ambasi dasyasi. So if I die, then everything will sink in the Garbhodak ocean. So how did you become actually, why did you become prepared to kill me? So Prabhupada explains that if a planet is destroyed, it must fall into the water of the Garbha. The earth therefore warned Prithu that he could gain nothing by destroying her. In other words, outer space may be compared to an ocean of air, and each and every planet is floating on it just as a boat or island floats on the ocean. And sometimes the planets are called Dvipa, and sometimes they are called boats. Thus, the cosmic manifestation is partially explained in this reference by the cow-shaped earth. So, first of all, Mother Earth took the shape of a cow, thinking that if by seeing the cow, Pruthu Maharaj will not actually attack her. And then she started running here and there. But even then, Pruthu Maharaj was following her to attack her. And now the third is, she starts actually pleading. She starts giving different arguments. I'm a woman, I'm a cow, and moreover, you are the knower of the religious principles. And I'm sinless. And then if you kill me, then all the citizens will be unprotected. They will all drown at the Garbhodak ocean. And in this way, she is giving various arguments. Now, Pruthu Maharaj is giving a reasoning for everything. Pruturuvacha
Prithu uvacha.
Vasude Tvam Vadishyami
Vasude tvam vadishyami.
Machasana Paranmukim
Machasana paranmukhim.
Bhagam Barhishi Yavrunte
Bhagam barhishi yavrante.
Tanoti Chano Vasu.
Natanoti cha no vasu. King Pruthu replied to the earthly planet, My dear earth, you have disobeyed my orders and rulings. In the form of demigod, you accepted your share of the yagyas we performed. But in return, you have not produced the sufficient food grains. For this reason, I must kill you.
So Prithu Maharaj is determined. He didn't get carried away by the earth's pleading or external shape of the cow. He is determined to perform his duty to provide necessities for the citizens. He says that I will definitely kill you. Who are disobeying my orders. Bhagam Barihishi Ya Vrante. You accepted your share in the sacrifice, but na tanoti chano vasu, but did not bestow wealth to us. So somebody who accepts something, like somebody who gets the government, it gets the taxes, collects taxes, but then the government does not utilize the tax money for the welfare, then the government gets contaminated with the sin. So similarly, saying that the devatas, they get the share of the sacrifice, but they are also supposed to do in return. They are supposed to perform the duties. And then he says, Yavasam Jagyanudinam.
Yavasam Jagyada Anudanam
Naivado Yauda Sampayaha.
Naiva Dogdya Ushadam Paya
Tasyameva hi dushyayam.
Tasyamevam hi Dushtayam
Dando natrana shasyate.
Dando Natra na Shashyate. Although you are eating green grass every day, you are not filling your milk bag so we can utilize your milk. Since you are willfully committing offenses, it cannot be said that you are not punishable due to your assuming the form of a cow.
See, you are eating the grass, but do not make your udder full of milk. So punishment of such an offender is not unsuitable. Dando natrana shasyate. So when you are given something, you are also expected to do something in return. Any facility, the spiritual facility, anything, one is supposed to do something in return, to repay back that. So you are willfully committing offenses. You are accepting your share of sacrifice, but not giving back the grains. So here the word paya can refer both to milk and to water. As one of the devatas, the earth was taking her share in the yajnas, but in return she was not producing sufficient food grains. Tvam kalu voshadi bijani prak srishtani swayambhuva na munchas atmaruddhani mam avajnaya mandadi. You have lost your intelligence that despite my orders, you do not deliver the seeds of herbs and grains formerly created by Brahma and now hidden within yourself. So here, because we find that Pruthu Maharaj's responsible nature, how he is like very concerned that the citizens should be relieved of their hunger. So disobeying men, Voshadi Bijani, disobeying men, you foolishly do not release the seeds of the plants previously created by Brahma, which are contained within you. So if you see, the world is a perfect creation because everything has been provided for survival by Lord Brahma along with the creation. And the duty of the king should try to solve the scarcity and find out why the production is being held up. Currently in Sri Lanka, there is a huge economic crisis. Some of you may be aware. And recently there was an article which was circulated, written in some newspaper. One of the article says that one of the reason for the economic crisis is that the Sri Lanka government changed the farming to organic farming. In a short time, they tried to change all the farming to the organic farming. And because when they changed to organic farming, suddenly the production decreased. I'm just giving in a simplistic word, but the article contained like so many statistics, which crop, how the production reduced because of shifting to organic farming. So they say that shifting to organic farming was one of the main reason for the sudden economic crisis. The production reduced and other things. They give multiple reasons, multiple reasonings behind it. So there was a discussion in one forum because sometimes like many of the articles they use very sophisticated jargons and then you can come up with the different statistics and they may be trying to say industrialization, industrial farming is the way this organic farming, don't actually propagate this idea of organic farming using natural manures and cow dung and this thing for production. Why that you can't increase the production? Organic farming is good for nothing. So that is the whole conclusion of that actually. Or they try to say that they try to shift to the organic farming suddenly. It should have been done in a phased way or something. So they are blaming the whole economic crisis because of shifting to organic farming. So, but actually, if we see the modern farming depends on pesticides and tractors and chemicals and seeds generated in the laboratory. But the Upanishads say that Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. The Supreme Absolute Truth is perfect and complete. And whatever is created with Absolute Truth is also perfect and complete. And although so many things emanate from the Absolute Truth, he still remains perfect and complete. So that the same point is highlighted by Prabhupada here. There's a perfect creation. Everything has been provided for survival by Lord Brahma along with the creation. But the earth had actually hidden those food grains. So without understanding the perfect nature of the Lord's creation, we try to create artificial systems, artificial means. So we can increase the production only through chemicals. And then like slam the whole effort for organic farming. And even any medicines, like for example, even vaccines, you see some ingredient is coming from China, another ingredient from another country, and then with that ingredient, some packaging material from another country, and it is manufactured in something else. So somebody is living in Pune, he has to depend on the vaccine whose resources, ingredients are coming from different places. So many times as part of the system, sometimes we may have to accept the vaccine. Some people may be bold, they might have avoided vaccine. But the whole, if we try to think from the Vedic point of view, from scriptural point of view, the medicine usually, one of the Ayurvedic principle is that when you get a disease, you go and meet a doctor who is within certain kilometers of your living place. Because when you get a disease in a place, usually the medicines or the solution would also be provided in a nearby vicinity. Medicine and also the doctor would also be there in nearby vicinity. But currently, you get a disease and you go to sometimes another country or another continent or maybe very far away place, and the medicine is coming from different other ingredients are coming from different places. So the whole system, it goes against the whole system is actually founded against the belief that the creation is perfect. Creation is perfect means what? What is needed for your survival is provided locally. But currently, the medicines are different food grain, different thing. The system is made in such a way that for your survival, you have to depend on some other country, petrol coming from another country, and so many other things. So this purport, where Prabhupada explains that Lord Brahma, while creating all the planets in the universe, Brahma also created the seeds of the various grains, herbs, plants, and trees. When sufficient water falls from the cloud, the seeds fructify and produce the fruits, vegetables, etc. So, by his example, Pruthu Maharaj indicates that whenever there is a scarcity in food production, the head of the government should take steps to see why production is being held up. Further, Pruthu Maharaj says we will take it up after the break from 25th verse. Anybody has any questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhuji,
Yes.
in this, we see that Pruthu Maharaj is not relenting from his stand despite Mother Cow, Miss Mother Earth as a cow is pleading with certain reasons. When we see that this Parikshit Maharaj is trying to accept the surrender of Kali, so surely he has some good reasoning also of like Saranga, he is trying to see the good that can come by accepting Kali. But the other factor which is told that anyone who surrenders, then you have to accept him. But he did not really give up his sinful act. Like here, he is questioning, Prithu is questioning that you have not supplied the grains despite you getting the taxes, whatever. So earth is being also questioned for her duty. Similarly, Parikshit means I usually see this kind of working is more reasonable, where the person who is surrendering should at least come to the right action. But here, earth is being questioned like that. But there, Parikshit was not asking that you should give up your nonsense. He was only given some nice places to bad places to go to stay. But nonsense is going on. So why Parikshit had to accept that principle of surrender, which is coming from a sinful person?
In the case of Parikshit, it was mentioned, if Parikshit Maharaj had killed Kali, because by killing the surrendered person, that would have increased the adharma. That would have also increased adharma. If he had spared the Kali completely, that would have also led to adharma. If he had killed Kali who surrendered, that would have also led to the increase of adharma. Here, in the case of Pruthu Maharaj, Mother Earth was initially clever. She was trying to play some kind of a diplomatic card by taking the shape of a cow, and then started fleeing here and there. And then, she's saying that she started pleading, "I'm sinless. Why are you actually attacking me?" But still, until Mother Earth did not actually, she spoke those verses, but she didn't come to the point that, okay, I will actually give back, I will produce food grains for the citizens. She didn't come to that point. And so therefore, Pruthu Maharaj, because he could see that all the citizens were skinny and they were really starving. So therefore, Pruthu Maharaj did not leave Mother Earth till Earth actually agreed to give the food grains. So it's also interesting comparison in the case of Kali. Parishit Maharaj, because Kali literally surrendered. So that is a very important principle of giving shelter to a surrendered person. Like today morning, discussing Bhagavatam class, again with respect to Pruthu Maharaj, but Pruthu Maharaj's episode, but another thing from Ramayana. And Vibhishan came to surrender to Lord Ram. Ram asked the opinion of different people. Except Hanuman, everyone told that Vibhishan should not be accepted. Vibhishan is a brother of the enemy. He may be the spy of the enemy, and he should not be accepted. He is a bad person. Hanuman said that he is a good person. He can be accepted. But Lord Ram neither considered the opinion of Sugriva nor the opinion of Hanuman, but he took a third stance. He accepted Vibhishan, but he took a third stance. Maybe Lord Ram accepted the decision of Hanuman that Vibhishan should be accepted, but he didn't accept the reasoning of Hanuman. Hanuman said that he is a good person, therefore he should be accepted. But Lord Ram did not accept that reasoning. Because at the same, and then Sugriva and other monkeys, their fear was that if Vibhishan may misuse your surrender shelter given by you, Vibhishan is the brother of the enemy, so anything can happen. He can actually betray us. So Lord Ram said that actually whether it is Vibhishan or Vali or Ravana, even if Ravana comes and surrenders, I will accept that person's surrender. In fact, simply with my angular, just with my thumb, I can actually destroy the entire Lanka. Don't be afraid. So Lord Ram removed the fear of Sugriva. At the same time, Ram did not accept the reasoning of Hanuman. What was the reasoning of Hanuman? Because he is a good person, therefore accept his surrender. That reasoning Lord Ram did not accept. What was the reasoning which Lord Ram gave for accepting the surrender of Vibhishan? Sakrit yeva prapannoyas tavasmi iti yachate abhayam sarvada tasmai dadam yeta trutam mama. If a person comes in front of me and says that I am yours, then I will accept that person. I actually award fearlessness to that person. So Lord Ram said that why I want to accept Vibhishan is not because he is a good person, is because he is saying that he is surrendering to me. And as whenever a person surrenders to me, even if he says that I am yours, I am surrendering to you, I cannot reject that person. I have to give fearlessness to that person. Therefore, Sharanagata Palaka is one of the important quality of the Lord. And a king is supposed to represent this quality of the Lord. He is supposed to give shelter to the surrendered person. Therefore, Parishit Maharaj, if he had spared, if he had killed Kali, then it would have been a very big mistake. At the same time, he cannot give a complete freedom to Kali.
Yes, Praji. Praji, these insights are good. I just something more because if we see here, Pruthu is also the powerful incarnation of the Lord or a Shaktavish avatar. And Bhumi Devi is also kind of taking the position of a shelter taker. So that way the principle applies here also. At the same time, he's telling her to do her duty also along with that. He's not killing her, but he's invoking her to do the duty.
Yes.
So where is if we see the example of Kali, he was a sinful man and he did not give up the sinful side. He was given a place to execute his sinful side. So where is that reconciliation? I am talking on that front. The surrender principle, dharma to be established of accepting the surrendered person is good. And if you see Vibhishan's heart is known to the Lord and he is accepting the surrendered person, and he can handle if he's an unsurrendered fellow also. When he's internally a wrong person, but he's externally surrendering, then he can handle that case. But when we are talking about Kali is given a place to actually do nonsense. So to punish the person when he does nonsense is important. So Vibhishan, if he had done nonsense, then Lord would have punished after surrender came. But if you see here, Lord Prithu is telling her to actually go on right action. Vibhishan remained on the right action, but Kali did not come to the right action. And thus he has to be told that this is the wrong action. But that was not done. After surrender doesn't mean that we just remain neutral after that.
See, there's somebody, some people, they have the innate certain nature. Kali by nature, he'll be crooked and this thing. So Parishit Maharaj gave only those 5 places for him to reside. But he also, Parishit Maharaj ensured that there are practically very few places left there where Kali can stay. read Prabhupada's purport, Prabhupada says that Parishit Maharaj, he ensured that practically in his kingdom, there will be hardly any places where meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, gambling, they take place. Very few places are there. In that way, he ensured that Kali's movement is restricted to a very small place. And he cannot be, because the Kali, somebody's swabhava is in that, he cannot be changed immediately. That person's nature is like that. So you cannot simply change, because that person's mindset is like that. So what Parishit Maharaj did was that he restricted his movement in the whole kingdom. Okay, you are restricted to something like a lockdown kind of thing. He said you can stay only in these 4 rooms, and even those 4 places are 4. That is also practically very few places in the whole kingdom. So his movement was restricted, and by that, like when a person's movement is restricted, that is also like a punishment for that person, and that person is expected to change also. Sometimes simply you cannot change kill the person immediately just because the mindset is not changed. And moreover, Kali Yuga is supposed to, according to the order of the world, Kali Yuga is supposed to go also. But from the point of view of the in charge or the king, he cannot say, okay, Kali Yuga is going to go, and therefore I will not do anything. He didn't become aloof from it. But the point is, he cannot kill Kali. He spared him, but at the same time, he ensured that such places are very few places are there in his kingdom.
One more was, this earth we see as a cow, even in this pastime where Kali is beating cow, and that cow and bull, the interaction, I mean, there also earth is there. So I'm trying to get a reference, because some devotee told me that this cow is like the subtle form, because we don't see Bhumi Devi or Dharma like this in the subtle body, subtle forms, whatever. We don't see them like that. So these are personalities. So is it that this is the subtle, because there is the gross earth, which is this gross earth is if this is the planet, then these personalities they are devtas. So the cow is the form. She's a cow in eternal way, in the, well, not eternal, but in the devta way. Is that the understanding, or is it? Because
Whether
everywhere the
mystics
cow,
in these, they can sometimes take any form which they desire. Whether mystic powers, they can take any form they desire. Cow produces both male and female forms, so therefore, the earth produces, like a woman produces male and female forms. So here, earth, just by her mystic siddhi, she is assuming this form of a cow. You can say a subtle form.
within one last, Puji, earth is not giving, despite after Vena has come, like Vena is gone, so she's not giving for some reason.
Probably she thought he's also following the footsteps of Vena. Like she didn't particularly take note, because Vena had really terrorized, and he stopped all the yajnas. So therefore, earth withheld all the food grains. And sometimes when you are used to a particular situation, even though the person might have changed, it takes some time to get faith in the new person. So probably Earth was thinking that, oh, Pruthu is also like another mini Vena or something like that. So therefore, she did not produce her food grains. It appears like.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I had a question regarding the loyalty to Sampradaya. So, what does it actually mean? Because we do like in our sampradaya, we may not have much knowledge about much scriptures about Ramayana or Vishnu avatars and details. That is one thing. So we do refer to other sampradayas, and we do take inspiration from other sampradayas. Seeing their Vaishnava qualities, we talk about Sri Sampradaya, so many Vaishnavas, their things. That is on one side. At the same time, we see in Sri Sampradaya, we don't see them coming to like by our sampradayas like Vrindavan or Jagannath Puri or Mayapur. These places they don't come, but in our sampradaya we do go to their like these holy places. Jagannath also went. So and in fact, also talking about sampradaya loyalty to sampradaya means there are non-Vaishnava sampradayas also, Shaivite sampradaya. So does this apply to like there also?
Sri Sampradaya, they do go to Vrindavan. They do. I have seen many times they conducting Vrindavan Yatra, Jagannath Puri. The fact that it is just centered in the South India, these places are far away, but they do go actually. The same. Loyalty to our sampradaya and also respectful to other sampradayas. So in the name of loyalty, sometimes we can be disrespectful to others, or in the name of being respectful to others, we can compromise our own loyalty. So we have to be loyal to our sampradaya. Because Ramayana and other things, it is not that these are not our sampradaya scriptures, not like that. As I mentioned, I think last class also that the Bhaktivinoda Thakur says the entire Vedic literatures are the evidence. So Ramayana, Mahabharata, Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, all these are the pramanas. And previously, there is Prasthana Traya, Shruti, Smriti, and a Nyaya Prasthana. Shruti, Smriti, and Nyaya Prasthana. So if a person has to be recognized, if a particular sampradaya has to be recognized as a bona fide sampradaya, they have to comment on one literature from Shruti, one from Smriti, and one from Nyaya. Then it will be recognized as a bona fide sampradaya. And then Vallabhacharya, so then Shankaracharya commented on Bhagavad Gita, which is a part of Smriti, which is a part of Mahabharata. He commented on Shruti, he commented on, I think, Vedanta, the different Upanishads. He commented on the Nyaya Prasthana, that is Vedanta Sutra. So Ramanujarya also commented on Vishnu Puran, Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads. So later, the Vallabhacharya said included apart from Smriti, Shruti, Smriti, and Nyaya Prasthana, he added the fourth thing, that is Srimad Bhagavatam. He recognized four main, say, evidences. Shruti Prasthana, something from Shruti, something from Smriti, something from Nyaya Prasthana, that is a part of Vedanta, that's Vedanta Sutra. And then fourth is, although Bhagavad Puran comes under the Smriti, is a part of the one of the Puranas, but he separately kept it out as the Srimad Bhagavatam, the fourth one, recognizing the unique position of Srimad Bhagavatam. He mentioned it as the fourth. For any sampradaya to be bona fide, they can obtain knowledge from these four. And Jiva Goswami went one step further. He said, not even these four things, but only one among the four is sufficient, that is Srimad Bhagavatam. And that he goes on to prove in the Tattva Sandarbha, how Srimad Bhagavatam alone is considered sufficient as the Chakravarti Pramana, that he proves in the Tattva Sandarbha. For what purpose? For knowing the absolute truth. For the ultimate goal of life, for knowing the absolute truth. But as we discussed that for knowing the for principles of for practical day-to-day living, for different aspects of the living life related, definitely Ramayana, Mahabharata, they have very valuable things to offer, which we can take definitely. But for the absolute truth, for pursuing the ultimate goal, for knowing the absolute truth and performing bhakti, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the highest authority.
This Jiva Goswami which he has mentioned about Srimad Bhagavatam, how much it is accepted by other sampradayas, like these things. That is one
It
thing.
is considered as an authority because all the sampradaya, any bona fide sampradaya, they can't reject any of the Puranas.
Yeah. Means, I'm
None
talking
of the sampradayas can reject the Srimad Bhagavatam. All the sampradayas accepted, but as a Chakravarti Pramana, that idea may not be accepted. But
because,
it is accepted as the incarnation of Krishna, that way it is accepted.
Yeah, that is accepted. I'm talking about that adding, like Jiva Goswami is adding that Srimad Bhagavatam alone is sufficient. So how much the point of Jiva Goswami is accepted by other sampradayas?
Yeah, that's why, see, one has to get the knowledge only when a person come, because they may not receive that knowledge from that sampradaya, so they don't accept it. So why are we so adamant about they have to accept this idea? Unless somebody from that sampradaya, when they receive the knowledge from the Gaudiya Vaishnava, say this one, then they get this idea. When they don't receive it, so they were not having this idea, and we don't have to be adamant about that.
Yeah.
So all the sampradayas, the different sampradayas, they give perfect knowledge. Like suppose a girl is there. So mother sees the girl as a good daughter. Brother sees as a good sister. The teacher sees as a good student. And the friend sees as a good friend. And all of them are correct actually.
Yeah.
In the same way, the different bona fide sampradayas, they see the reality in different ways. All of them are correct. And one need not keep fighting with the other. At the same time, suppose if somebody says that she's not a girl, she's a boy, that is a wrong idea. That's a wrong idea. So that has to be rejected. But within the correct understanding, there can be different correct understanding. All of them are correct. And somebody who sees that girl as a good student, good daughter, good brother, good sister, and a good friend, then it may have the complete understanding about that girl. But somebody may not have that complete understanding, but they see from reality that can be corrected, they can be accepted.
So, regarding like last class, I had sent some questions on chat. It was not answered. Last time when we were discussing about genuineness of an avatar. So some points you told that he should have that avatar should show Virat Roop, right? Universal form. He should. So then that is one of the points to say that this avatar is genuine. But so I wanted to know what is the reference for this, because we don't see all the avatars have shown Virat Roop. Only Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu we see they show Virat Roop, not other avatars show. That is one point. And regarding this, because generally we say Virat Roop is the imaginary form. So why so much emphasis is being given as this as an evidence to for being an avatar to be genuine?
Prabhupada says in that 11th chapter purport Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna is asking that I want to see your Virata Rupa. So we read Prabhupada's purports. Arjuna is asking this question because he wants to show that anybody who is claims to be an avatar should be able to show the Virata Rupa. Other avatars, because nobody asked them to show the Virata Rupa, and therefore they didn't show the Virata Rupa. Except Krishna, Arjuna asked specifically. I don't know whether Narayana Rishi was asked by somebody to show the Virata Rupa. Probably if some sincere devotee had asked Narayana Rishi, then Narayana Rishi would have showed.
We can say that this is one of the conditions, but it's not one of the important conditions.
I don't know, but Like Krishna showed Virata Rupa, there Prabhupada explained that anybody who's a incarnation should be able to show the Virata Rupa. Reason the other avatars did not show the Virata Rupa because nobody asked actually. But they performed other superhuman activities.
Yeah, that's the answer.
Different incarnations, it's not that all of them manifested all the characteristics.
Yeah.
We talked about sleep test, stool test, this thing. Particularly Rishabhadev manifested that. And
So regarding this only, like we see, like we have so many of evidences as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a genuine avatar, but still we don't see him as accepted by other sampradayas. So why it is so when the pramana is there from Shastra?
because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a Channa avatar. Only when a person comes in contact with the follower of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then by their mercy only a person can accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sarvam Bhattacharya Mahaprabhu says that Gopinath Acharya, that because of your mercy he could understand the truth. So only unless a person, it's not simply by the Shastra, unless a person comes in, because the Shastra has meanings in different levels. Shastra and meaning is different levels. Only when a person comes in contact with the follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or starts following the process of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then a person will be able to. And there is no need to worry that he should. So they should accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Lord. We can just tell about the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We can just, when we tell about the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they'll appreciate it. Let us make them appreciate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in that way. And then we can give about the process of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then due course, they'll be able to appreciate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an incarnation. So one of the problems is that we want to impose our faith on others actually. The faith and the dharma both are important. Instead of uniting with the people on the platform of dharma, we were many times we want to say why that person is not having the same faith as me. We try to focus on that point more. Why not actually see the unity on the platform of tattva? Or why not we see, even among the Mayavadis, why not we see the dharmic unity and then work on a practical level, not without compromising on the philosophy? Because most of the times we only want to see that, oh, this person is not having the same faith as me. So why this person is not accepting my same faith as that person? So many times we think like that. But even that concern is there. We can, how do we go about is that we can basically inspire them about the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we can inspire them about the process of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then when they start accepting the teachings in the process, and in due course, they will be inspired from within to accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Lord. That is the way out. So we don't have to too much focus why this person is not having the same faith as me. He's not accepting Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Lord. So I would see that better we focus on the, like sometimes some devotee wrote a book that some of the poems written by the Alvars, these refer to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And by that, some of the Sri Vaishnava leaders, they said that he openly condemned ISKCON because those verses were written by, I think, Periyalvar or somebody glorifying Ramanuja, like some other this one, but some ISKCON devotee said that this is referring to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, like if the whole idea is that we want to impose our faith on them, why this person is, they are not accepting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we want to interpret those verses like that. So then that created a negative this thing on them only. They openly said that nobody should take initiation from ISKCON like that. So that is one of the main problem. we are all the time thinking that why this person is not accepting my faith. Rather, let us see the unity and let us create a congenial atmosphere, make them appreciate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, and due course they will accept Mahaprabhu's position. Hare Krishna.
But if they don't accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so how do they other sampradaya they accept the genuineness, Gaudiya Vaishnava bona fide sampradaya? Do they? Because they will not accept.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that even if a person accepts the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and by that in due course they will be inspired to accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Lord. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he makes this. So the maturity of the followers is that we have to see the unity and work with them. That is the need of the hour actually. And people, when Maharaj went to South India, one of the GR Swami, he said openly, he said, oh, Krishna has come as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like that he was glorifying, propagating holy names. So one of the main problem we have to realize in our problem that we are seeing others, why they are not accepting my faith all the time. Later, let us see the unity and let us try to work cooperatively. So that's what I think. Shripad Mahaprabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, regarding this Virat Rupa, which you just now had a discussion on, this was my thought. I just wanted a clarification. That is it that Prabhupada is mentioning this because he is seeing in today's day and age, everyone is popping up and claiming to be God. So to just make people aware that, it is not so cheap thing, but something very, grand. So then make people aware that, like, okay, if you can show Virat Rupa, then you accept him as God.
Yes, yeah, that is one of the reasons Prabhupada says that.
Thank you.
Yes. See, Ramanuja Sampradaya, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in Navadvip, I think the Mahatmya, that how Mahaprabhu gave darshan to Ramanujacharya, he told they don't reveal this. The Sri Sampradaya, they accept Ramanujacharya as the founder Acharya, the main Stapak Acharya. When Ramanujacharya is not mentioned about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how can we expect that they would accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Lord? He is a Channa avatar, moreover. So naturally, it is expected they would not accept. But they appreciate the process of Sankirtan and only when a person comes in contact with Mahaprabhu's follower, then a person can understand Mahaprabhu. And better, just like common people, we see that we have to create Ajnata Sukriti in the people by making them appreciate the devotees. By making them appreciate the devotees. Instead of sometimes when we try to say a person is not having the faith, when we speak the glories of the holy name, then that person may commit more offenses, and that is not conducive for it. Rather, we make them get Ajnata Sukriti by making them appreciate some aspect of the devotees. This principle is there. The same principle when we deal with the other sampradayas. Suppose just like someone devotee wrote the book commenting on the Alvar songs that these verses refer to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But what was the result of that was that some of the leaders in the Sri Sampradaya, they became more critical. So is that the way out, that we somehow try to impose to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Lord, or instead we try to act in such a way that they develop more appreciation for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings and his followers and the process, instead of imposing the faith, imposing the faith on the personality of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Rather, let us create appreciation in them for the process of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And by that, they will accumulate Agyanta Sukriti. Of course, Agyanta Sukriti sense that they will develop appreciation for Mahaprabhu and his teachings. And then that is the way that in due course they will be inspired to accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's position. So that is how I see actually. Okay, we'll try to go ahead. 25th verse. Amusham Kshutparitanam Artanam Paridevitam Shamayishyami Madbanir Binnaya Stava Medasa.
Now, with the help of my arrows, I shall cut you to pieces, and with your flesh satisfy the hunger-stricken citizens who are now crying for want of grains. Thus I shall satisfy the crying citizens of my kingdom.
So here is saying that I will remove the lamentation of the people who are suffering from hunger by cutting them to pieces, by killing you, and I will satisfy them with your own flesh. So Prabhupada says that cows and other animals should be given sufficient grass to eat. If despite a sufficient supply of grass, a cow does not supply milk, and if there is an acute shortage of food, the dried up cow may be utilized to feed the hungry masses of the people. So according to the law of necessity, first of all, human society must try to produce food grains and vegetables. But if they fail in this, they can indulge in flesh eating. Otherwise not. So meat eating is sometimes allowed when there is acute shortage of food, when people are struggling to survive only. At that time, in the Apat Dharma, the government may sanction the eating of meat. Vishwamitra was once, he was starving of hunger, and he was about to eat meat like that, just to survive, so that he can perform the dharmic activities. So essentially, it's the Apat Dharma. But Pruthu Maharaj, he's not actually killing the cow, but he's trying to threaten, so that, like, sometimes you have to threaten, create fear in the people, so that the people, the person in front of you does the right action, starts performing his responsibility. So Pruthu Maharaj is saying that I'm ready to even kill you and then satisfy the citizens by the flesh coming from you. So again, Prabhupada says about but mass opening of the slaughterhouses is not allowed. The conclusion is that the earth produces sufficient grain to feed the entire population, but the distribution of this grain is restricted due to trade regulations and a desire for profit. Consequently, in some places, there is scarcity of grain, and in others, profuse production. If there were one government on the surface of the earth to handle the distribution of grain, there would be no question of scarcity, no necessity to open slaughterhouses, and no need to present false theories about overpopulation. So next verse is an important verse. So one more point is that sometimes certain concession is given, say by a doctor, for a person who is addicted to eating sweet, certain concession is given. But that concession is not a recommendation of the doctor. Similarly, sometimes scriptures give certain concession. Those who are addicted to eating meat, scriptures tell certain concession how to eat meat by following certain rules. That is not the recommendation. So Pruthu Maharaj is making this statement that he will kill the cow in the case of the emergency. And then he says, any cruel person, be he a man, woman, or impotent eunuch, who is only interested in his own personal maintenance and has no compassion for other living entities, may be killed by the king. So such killing can never be considered actual killing. So when somebody is selfish, whether he is a man, woman, or a eunuch, when you kill that person, it is not actually killing. So here Prabhupada talks about selfishness on a material platform, selfishness on the spiritual platform. So sometimes people are selfish on a material platform, not doing something for others. And even the spiritual activities also, sometimes when a devotee is self-satisfied and does not preach the glories of the Lord, then he is also considered not a first-class devotee. A devotee who tries to preach, who has compassion upon innocent persons, who have knowledge of Krishna, is a superior devotee. That's why Prahlad Maharaj said that I don't want to go to the forest and live alone, but rather I want to desire in the city because I want to help other people. So, Prayena Deva Munayo Sa Vimukti Kama Maunam Charanti Vijane Na Parartha Nishta. Even the verse which we read on 14th chapter, the Brahmana said that if we don't help the people, our spiritual credits will get drained out. When that verse can also be seen in the same light. And then Pruthu Maharaj says, Tvam stabdam durmadam nitva mayagam tilasha sharai atma yoga bale nema darayishyam aham praja. So pulverizing this false, proud, infatuated cow by my arrows, I will support the citizens by my mystic power. So actually, so again Pruthu Maharaj is saying here, actually, I will kill you by actually and satisfy my citizens by my mystic powers. So because Mother Earth told that if you kill me, all the citizens will actually drown into the Garbhodaka ocean because I am only holding all the citizens. So Pruthu Maharaj says that I have my mystic siddhis in order to give protection, in order to hold all the citizens. He says that you are actually a fake cow. You are not a real cow. And you said that how will you hold them up in the water? But Pruthu Maharaj says that like I will support the citizens by my mystic power. As far as the destruction of the citizens is concerned, Pruthu maintained that he could uphold everyone by his own mystic powers. He did not need the help of the earthly planet. Being the incarnation of Vishnu, Pruthu Maharaj possessed the power of Sankarshan, which is explained by the scientists as the power of gravitation. So the Lord is known as Yogeshwara, master of all the mystic powers. Consequently, the planet Earth was informed by the king that she did not worry about his standing without her help. So then, at this time, when Pruthu Maharaj was determined to punish the earth, so now Mother Earth begins to tremble. Now she is surrendering, and with folded hands, she began to speak to Mother Pruthu. So previously, Earth was trying to justify, or she was trying to plead not to kill her. But now she is surrendering and she starts glorifying Pruthu and she starts offering prayers to Pruthu. So Maharaj Pruthu was like death personified for the cow, and she also saw him in the mood of the anger personified. Therefore, she began to tremble. So, 29th verse, we'll recite together. Darovacha Nama Parasmai Purushaya Mayaya Vinyastanana Tanave Gunatmane Namaswarupanu Nirduta Dravya Kriyakaraka Vibramormaye. Can read the translation.
Planet Earth spoke, "My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are transcendental in your position, and by your material energy, you have expanded yourself in various forms and species of life through the interaction of the three modes of material nature. Unlike some other masters, you always remain in your transcendental position and are not affected by the material creation, which is subject to different material interactions. Consequently, you are not bewildered by material activities."
So here he's saying that Nama Parasmai Purushaya Mayaya, I offer my respects to the Supreme Person, Vinyasta Nana Tanave Gunatmane, who expands as many forms. Nana Tanu means many bodies, many forms. By Mayaya, by material energy, composed of the Gunas, Gunatmane, as the universal form. The first two lines, she is saying that you expand as many forms by your material energy as a universal form. First two lines are talking about how the Lord's universal form. And the second two lines, Namaswarupanu Bhavena Nirduta, I offer my respects to you who are understood to be completely free from the waves of samsara. Swarupa Anubhavena Nirduta. Nirduta means not affected by or completely free of the waves of samsara. So Urmi means the waves. The waves of samsara are created by what? Dravya, Kriya and Karaka. That is the body, senses and the sense devatas. So the Lord is completely not affected by this waves of samsara. So when a person, I offer respects to you who are understood to be completely free of the waves of samsara created by the body, senses and sense devatas. When a person realizes your spiritual energy, Namaswarupanu. So this third and fourth line talks about the Lord's spiritual form. The spiritual form is completely unaffected by the body, senses and sense devatas. So Prabhupada explains that earth is the hip of the universal form. Earth was accused of hiding the seeds, and therefore she is preparing to explain how the seeds of these herbs and grains can be again exposed. The earth knew that the king was very angry with her, and she realized that unless she pacified his anger, there was no possibility of placing a positive program before him. Therefore, in the beginning of her speech, she very humbly presents herself as a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord's, Supreme Personality of Godhead's body. She submits that the various bodily forms manifest in the physical world are but different parts and parcels of the Supreme gigantic body. So, Mayadhyakshena Prakriti Suyata Sacharacha. Yeah, the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya, upholding that the Lord is simultaneously one with and different from his creation, is very easily understandable in this connection. The planet Earth explains that although the Lord is attached to the external energy, he is nirduta, he is completely free from the activities of the external energy. So the first two lines, it says that how the Lord is attached to the external energy. Through the external energy, he manifests the universe. But the third and fourth line talk about how the Lord is detached from the external energy. Nirduta Dravya Kriya Karaka. So in that way, you can see the Achintya Beda philosophy, how the Lord is attached to the external energy, at the same time detached from the external energy. So Prabhupada is pointing out this point based on the first two lines in the third and fourth line. So therefore, in the verse it is stated, Swarupa Anubhavena, the Lord remains completely in his internal potency and yet has full knowledge of the external energy as well as the internal energy. Just as his devotee remains always in a transcendental position, keeping himself in the service of the Lord without becoming attached to the material body. And another point is that one may wonder how can the Lord be unaffected by the Dravya, Kriya and Karaka. So if it is possible for a devotee to remain transcendental, it is certainly possible for the Supreme Personality of Godhead to remain in his internal potency without being attached to the external potency. So, Yesha Prakriti Sangena, no, that's the verse in first canto which says that even the devotees who have taken shelter of the Supreme Lord, although they are within the material body, they are within the material world, they are not affected by the material energy. Then what is speak of the Supreme Lord? So a devotee is not hampered by the material body, although he is situated in a physical body that runs according to so many material conditions. Just as there are 5 kinds of air functioning within the body and so many organs all working differently. And then regarding this word Vibrama Urmaye, the Lord is completely free from the waves of samsara. So there are 6 waves of samsara, that is hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age and death. And the liberated soul is never concerned with these 6 physical interactions. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, being the all-powerful master of all energies, has some connection with the external energy, but is always free from the interactions with the external energy in the material world. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti, he quotes a verse from second canto. The earth is considered the hip of the universal form. The earth is saying that, like, I am the hip of your universal form, so how can you kill your own body? How can I actually, I offer my respects to you because you have bodies like mine made of matter. So then Pruthu says that how can I kill you, your body? So as soon as one does not realize your Swarupa Shakti, then he will see only your material energy and our bodies. So by realizing your Swarupa Shakti, however, you are understood to be completely free of the waves of samsara. So there is a verse in second canto which says that as long as meditation on the Lord and the witness of all beings, superior to even Brahma, which has bhakti as an element, does not manifest, one should remember the gross universal form after performing the necessary rites of Karma Yoga. So meditation on the universal form is meant for those who cannot focus on the transcendental form of the Supreme Lord. They are supposed to meditate on the universal form to become purified, and then so that later they can meditate on Paramatma and then the two-handed form of the Lord. So almost is 1:05. Then we will take one more verse, then end the class. Tomorrow we will take 30th verse. Yenahamatma atma yatanam vinirmita datra yatoyam gunasarga sangraha sayeva mam hantumudayudasvarat upastitonyam sharanam kamashraye.
The planet Earth continued, My dear Lord, you are the complete conductor of the material creation. You have created this cosmic manifestation and the 3 material qualities, and therefore you have created me, the planet Earth, the resting place of all living entities. Yet you are always fully independent, my lord. Now that you are present before me and ready to kill me with your weapons, let me know where I should go to take shelter and tell me who can give me protection.
So here, Earth is saying that the independent Lord who has created me as a shelter of all living entities, as a support for the various bodies in the gunas, has come to kill me with raised weapons. Other than you, who can be my shelter? So Earth is trying to plead that, like, you are my only shelter. Yenaham atma yatanam vinirmita. Datra yatoyam guna sangarga sangraha. So Pruthu Maharaj is saying that I have no attachment for you. Because in the previous verse, Earth said that you are completely free from the attachment to the, you are unaffected by the waves of material energy. You are free, you are not attached to the material energy. And hearing that, Pruthu Maharaj says that since you only said that I have no attachment to the material energy, so I have no attachment for you, so therefore I can kill you. So expecting that Pruthu will answer, speak like that, Mother Earth is speaking this verse. One should not kill the creeper which has been planted by one's own hand. So you have created me and you should not kill me. Moreover, I also assist you. I am the shelter for the jivas, and in me there is a protection of the 4 types of living entities born from embryo, eggs, perspiration and earth. So therefore, how can you kill me? That other than you, who can be my shelter? So Prabhupada quotes, because the Lord was prepared to kill the planet Earth, there was no one to give protection. And therefore, Mother Earth is surrendering to Pruthu by saying that you are my only shelter. And then the next verse she says, Ya etad ada asrijat characharam swamayayatma shayayavitarkeya tayaiva soyam kila goptum udyata katam nupam dharma paro jigamsati. So dharma para means one who is dedicated to dharma. So you are a person who is dedicated to dharma, and characharam, asrijat comes from the word srij means create, asrijat characharam. Asrijat is the past tense of srij dhatu. So achara means moving and non-moving. You have only created the moving and non-moving entities. Adav, in the beginning of the creation, you only created. And by what? Swamayaya, Atma Ashraya Avitarkeya. Avitarkeya means by the inconceivable energy. Swamayaya, by your own inconceivable energy, which is under your control, you created in the beginning of the world all the moving and non-moving entities. And moreover, you are dedicated to dharma para. And tayaiva soyam kila goptum udyata. Kila goptum udyata, after creating this world composed of the moving and non-moving entities, you also desire to protect this world. You are also eager to protect the world. But how is it that you are actually desiring to kill me now? Jigam sati. Katam jigam sati. So she is mentioning 3 points. You are dedicated to dharma. Secondly, you only created all the moving and non-moving entities by your inconceivable energy. And thirdly, you are also eager to protect by the same energy. You are also eager to protect them. Now, how is it that you are desiring to kill me? So in this way, Earth is arguing. Then We'll see the further verses tomorrow. And then we'll take up the next chapter also. We'll complete the next chapter. So anybody has any questions? Yeah, regarding that point, question about other sampradayas not accepting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is the concern is genuine. If anybody, suppose any devotee is worshipping, he is concerned, okay, others also accept. But the point is, how do we deal with them? That is the whole thing. So when we try to preach to them by imposing the faith, oh, this is there in the Shastra, then that may not work. Rather, we try to make them develop appreciation for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his teachings and his process. And that is how we will, when we make them, making them appreciation for the process of the teachings, that is how they will develop Ajnata Sukriti, and then they will accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's position as the Supreme Lord in due course. But instead of that, when we try to impose through the Shastra, that may not work, because initially Shastra can come later. After they develop the appreciation, then we speak about the Shastra, then it can come. But initially, we have to see how they can develop appreciation. Even when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dealt with Prakashanand Saraswati and Sarvam Bhattacharya, if you carefully study Chaitanya Charitamrita, he made them accumulate Ajnata Sukriti. By his humility, he made them render service to him. And he heard from Sarvam Bhattacharya for 7 days. And then Sarvam Bhattacharya, after that, his heart opened up. And then his heart became ready for whatever Mahaprabhu was going to speak. And Adi Leela 7th chapter, when we read Prakashanand Saraswati Mahaprabhu, there also, if we carefully see, Mahaprabhu, by sitting at the place where everyone came to wash their feet, he actually attracted their heart by his humility, and he made them render service to him. By that, they got Ajnata Sukriti. And then after that Ajnata Sukriti, their heart opened up, then they were ready to listen even to the Shastra. So similarly, whether when we speak to other sampradayas, you may be quoting from the Shastra, but in order to receive that with receptivity, they have to get some Ajnata Sukriti of appreciating Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers, or the process, or the teachings. After that, when we actually speak to them, then they may receive it actually. So we have to devise that means of making them develop appreciation, and then comes later the Shastra. Hare Krishna. Any other comments, questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, like generally we talk about in like controlling anger, like so. But at the same time, we see in such great souls also they get angry so much to the extent of killing a cow. Like in this case, we see, or even in Dhruv Maharaj case in previous, we saw it killing the whole race of the yakshas. So, and it was like fault. It was the fault of one person, and then he's trying to just annihilate the whole dynasty because of Dalti sign. Like, so how do we understand these things? Because generally we see that it is said that great souls, there's some like they are supposed to control anger, but at the same time they exhibit very extreme anger. That is very not understandable.
In the case of Dhruv Maharaj's anger, it went into the excessive side. Pruthu Maharaj, this one it is not mentioned. Pruthu Maharaj didn't get carried away with anger. He was trying to chastise the earth for the sake of the starving citizens. All his citizens were starving, therefore he is showing his anger towards the earth. But in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, because of one brother, he was about to kill so many yakshas. Like he didn't have the intention to kill all the yakshas. He wanted to kill only that person, but the anger, he got carried away by that anger. So there is also one reference in the Bhakti Sandarbha where Jiva Goswami talks about 3 types of Mahabhagavata. I don't have the immediate statements here. I can show you later. So even in the Mahabhagavata devotees, there are 3 levels. Sometimes some Mahabhagavatas, they, like in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, he became excessively angry. So of course, this is also another way. It's through those great souls, the Lord is teaching us. And in the material world, the material energy is also very powerful. Material energy is very powerful. Sometimes the material energy creates very difficult situation for the devotees also, like for the devotees when they are the material world. The material world also creates complicated situation. Dhruva Maharaj became excessively angry. But because a devotee like Dhruva Maharaj, who was completely surrendered to the Lord, and the Lord also helped the devotee through the spiritual energy by sending his representatives to advise the devotee at the right time, to make him control his anger. So this thing we find that when the devotee is functioning in the material world, the action of the material energy, material world is also happening. Bharat Maharaj became the deer. Being Dhruva Maharaj got affected by anger, Bharat Maharaj got affected by compassion. Anger, mode of ignorance. Bharat Maharaj, mode of goodness. The modes are acting. That is why Krishna says that modes are very powerful. But because these devotees are surrendered to the Lord, so therefore the Lord also helps the surrendered devotee through other means. In that way, the material energy is working. At the same time, the spiritual energy is also working for the surrendered devotees to protect and help those devotees. Hare Krishna.
Regarding this only, like you see in the first canto, there is a shloka there. Kada ras tamo bhavo kama lobhadaya. So this refer like this is that I'm not remembering exactly. So what stage this happens? The modes actually stop working, and becomes Satya Pratigati is coming up there. So till that, that even at the time up to the stage of bhava, one can get affected by the modes.
We can read Madhurya Kadambini, Krishna Chakotipal. He talks about the Anartha Nivritti, and he classifies the Anartha into different categories. Anarthas coming from pious activities, Anarthas coming from sinful activities, Anarthas coming from Seva Aparad, Anarthas coming from say Vaishnava Aparad. And then he says that there are various degrees of eradication of the Anarthas. That also he mentions different terms. There is a little eradication of the Anarthas, and then almost eradication, complete eradication, and then Atyantiki, that eradicated in such a way that the Anarthas don't again arise only. That is the ultimate annihilation. So these stages of annihilation of the Anarthas, at which stage what eradication is, how much, which level of eradication happens. That Madhurya Kadambini, Vishwanath Chakravartipad discusses about that. Anartha Nivritti. Anartha Nivritti only when it is eradicated completely in such a way that they don't arise again, then there is no more obstacle. So this subject is discussed in Madhurya Kadambini. This is something like a chemotherapy. Chemotherapy, the people go through different cycles. First stage, so many percentage of the cancer cells are eradicated. Second stage, this many cells. And maybe after 5 stages, all the cancer cells are eradicated. And maybe after the 6th chemotherapy, it is eradicated in such a way that they will not grow again. I'm just giving some 6th or 7th, whichever. So similarly, Anartha Nivritti is also different types of anarthas, which anarthas get eradicated to which level at different stage. So that subject is discussed in Madhurya Kadambini. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
So we'll stop here. I think 120. So, questions. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyascha patithanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyam. Thank you for your patient hearing. So, the Wednesday we will take up the last 5 verses in the next chapter.